Hi, this is Christine with Where's Watson? At Red River College, we love instructors who try new things. And Dean Laughren is just one of those instructors. Dean is an instructor in mechanical engineering technology, and he embarked on a journey of learning how to gamify his courses. I was so inspired by hearing about Dean's work and seeing some of his student projects that came out of this course that I invited Dean to talk to me a little bit about his journey to gamification and why he has found it to be a benefit for both his own teaching and his students' learning in his courses. So Dean, welcome to Where's Watson?
Hello.
So tell us a little bit about how long you've been at the college and the kind of courses that you teach.
I'm close to the 23 mark for here at the college. I've been here for a long time. The hair wasn't this color when I started. And I've taught stuff all over the course. Right now, mechatronics, what we're talking about. I also do statistics, noise and vibrations, CAD, quality inspection, mechanical components. I had to write it down. But in the past, I've done physics, thermal, programming, aerospace, and a math course. So done too much stuff.
That's amazing. So 23 years of instruction.
Yeah.
So what inspired you, especially with this mechatronics course, to bring in gamification? How did that get all started?
Well, we put this course in place a long time ago. A previous chair had decided that our first term was a little on the dry side. And so he wanted to put something in there that was a little interesting. And he wanted to put something that played with computers and physical things. And through many iterations with different platforms, we came up with the Arduino, which is, if you Google Arduino, it's a open software package. And you get I'll show you a picture. It's a little you get a kit, you get a little programmable board and a board to set things up. And so that turned out to be the best of many iterations. And we get the students to make these projects and then modify them and learn programming at the same time as learning a bit of electrical, which is important because mechanicals often take mechanical because they don't want electrical. And so here we are forcing them to do electrical. And so we had to make it interesting to get the first shot at it. And so, and I taught that for many years, and I didn't like how it turned into giving them a bunch of assignments and then having 3 tests and then some hand-in stuff. It didn't feel right, and it was a tough burden for first years on a course that was supposed to be fun, which was actually part of what my boss told me to make it. And so a few years back, I went to the conference, whose name I've forgotten already, but it was a conference downtown. Red River hosted it, and there was a thing on gamification, and I snickered at it, and I thought, what a silly idea this is. How could this work? You can't teach people with games. And I went in there to watch it, and it turned out a member of the college, Kyle Jeske, I hope I pronounced that right, Jeske, was the presenter, and I realized partway through that, hey, wait a minute, I work with him. And then I saw you yourself up at the front of the room, and oh, okay, so this is real stuff. And as he was presenting, I saw all these solutions to the problems I had coming out. Some of them scary because they do encourage you to put a theme in there, and the theme, the line between fun and goofy is really skinny.
It's a very narrow line.
It is a very narrow line, and so I had to pick the theme and try to keep it fun, and it turned out it solved a lot of problems. I think it's a far more energy for the instructor, and that was the thing that shocked me the most out of it. Is exhausting is a pretty good word to describe that, because you're in constant evaluation and discussion with the students. It's not a me at the front talking and then leaving them alone for a while. You're constantly evaluating, constantly looking at them. It's good, but be prepared. That's my advice to the next person who tries it.
That's right. So
and that
tell
was
me
advice.
Yeah.
They gave that advice at the conference too.
Yes, I remember that. He did say that. Yeah. And it's certainly the first few times that you do it, right? It's new for you as well as the student. So you have to iterate a little bit and see what happens. So
for sure. Yeah, for sure.
I've always found that students really benefit from seeing their own instructors learn. So being really open and honest about, hey, this is the first time we've tried this, and have the students come along with that learning journey. Because the understanding that we're all lifelong learners, I think, is really important for the students to understand.
When I first started teaching, if I made a mistake on the board, is a tragedy, and I would up all night kind of thing. But now a year ago I had a new course and I put in a presentation and I made a mistake in every calculation, every single one that I put on the board, and we were howling by the end of it. We were laughing, and so I had to come in the next day and redo it all, and then for the rest of the term they're all doing this. So I did everything in the course. So
checking your work. That's great. That's great. So tell me, Dean, what you found. Let's talk about the student experience first. So based on how you had taught the course before and then moving it to this new environment and this new way of assessing and this new way of teaching and learning, what did you see as the students benefiting from the gamification?
That was one of the things, is they work together more. You have to. I put them into teams and they had to come up with a team name. And then I would post the average for the team. So I wouldn't single out students who's doing well. I'd single out the teams. And so they had a little bit of a competition there. And then they would work together. And what was nice is previously when you saw students working together, it felt like they were copying off each other. But now it felt like they're collaborating with each other because they're both trying to figure out, and they know that I'm going to sit beside them and talk to them about it. So they can't just copy it because then they can't answer the questions. So the learning's better in my opinion. And I remember when we took teachers training way back, they said, do not put competition in the class. Bad idea, terrible idea. With our students in our program, it's a great idea. They're typically gamers, 99% of them are gamers, and they love a list of who's, and
they get it.
And they dove right in. And what I also put in the course was more than 100 marks. I put 116 marks in there. And they could go as long as they wanted. As soon as they got the mark they wanted, they could stop, and they could even jump forward and do stuff in the front. And a number of them didn't stop at 90. Kyle said this would happen, and I was skeptical, but a number of them did not stop at 90. They had the A+, and they wanted to see if they get a full 116 points.
Wow.
And they got, well, the best one I think was 114. He made one mistake on one thing that he handed in, and he didn't, and so. But he had the A+. He was happy. And the same student actually was done the course 10 months in. But he kept coming to class and helping the people in his team.
That's amazing.
And that's worth all the effort right there. Because just to have a student teach another student, that's heaven. That's teacher gold.
That's awesome. So what did you learn about your own teaching? About your own, I'm so inspired, as I said at the beginning, about how faculty take on new challenges. What did you learn about your own teaching? And I specifically want to ask, you did it the first time in person, then you had to go virtual. So what did you learn from that? And did the gamification actually help with the transition to virtual?
Okay. What I did learn is really, you got to let go of the process. And that can be one of the hardest things because you can deliver the content, but you have to let them do their thing, and that can be tough. We want to control everything, so you got to really let go, and just running around and talking to everybody and getting to know all the students. That's the introvert, okay? And I'm an introvert. We're just two of us talking, so it's not so bad. And I'm ignoring that somebody else might be watching. But we are introverts, most of us teachers, and so that's a bit challenging to sit beside every student and talk to them all the time, and then they start calling you back and forth, and you start to run around, and you're going all over the place. So that is tough, and I learned about that myself, is just letting go and just chatting with them, and rather than just evaluating on paper. Now taking it to the online, that actually scared me. I was actually quite concerned about that, because how are they going to show me their work? Mm-hmm. And that was one of those things where it turned out to be really not a concern, because the students are already quite used to this environment, and they were very willing to hold stuff up to the camera and film it being used. And that's one of the videos I sent you, is one student way beyond what was required. And he made it into a video that used songs from Knight Rider back in the 70s, which was just hilarious.
That's awesome.
So that worked out well. What the hardest part is, I couldn't do all of the stuff because one of the things we get to do is this little device here that will follow the light around, and they program this, but we have 10 of them. And working at home, it just wasn't possible. So we had to tailor the course back a bit. So they couldn't get to this point. They got to the point where they could control all these devices, but they couldn't merge it all into one device. So that we had to lose that a little bit.
Right.
So that was a loss. And I'll tell you, one of the hardest parts is you realize how much you take from physical cues of people, their facial expression, how they talk, and that's gone. And how often you think someone's got it and they really, really don't, or sometimes you think they don't have it and they really, really do, and we've lost that. And so that's by far the hardest part about this format we're working in right now.
I bet. I think what you've done is really inspiring, Dean, and I want to thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else you want to share for people who might be interested in gamifying their courses or thinking about new ways of approaching teaching and learning? Any final thoughts or pieces of advice?
Give it a try. And I think the one mistake I made was I did it without telling anybody. And I probably should have told my supervisor, I'm going to try something that's a stupid amount of work. You may want to give a course to somebody else so I get through this with myself intact. So yeah, be prepared for that, and give it a go. A change is as good as a break. It's fun to try something new, working outside your comfort zone, and it paid off in the end. But it's scary at first, but try it, go for it.
That's awesome. Dean, thank you so much for sharing your journey. Thanks for sharing your story. And ultimately, thank you for being an amazing instructor for Red River College. I know our students benefit from your enthusiasm and your passion and your own learning and your own commitment to growing and changing as an instructor. So thank you very much for joining me on Where's Watson today.
Thanks. This is fun.
Take care.
Take care.